Hello guys and welcome back to another video. Today we are here to find out how it is to live with an $80 phone from 2014 in the year of 2019. So what I did is that I used this phone for the first week of the year and I'm going to tell you how my experience was. So without any further ado, let's get started. The phone that I used for this week was a Samsung Galaxy Trend Plus. I remember that when I bought this phone, I looked at other options too, from other manufacturers, and this was quite the best for the price at the time. This phone has a 4-inch 480p display and LCD TFT. The colors are quite washed out, but the viewing angles are okay. The small display size makes it a bit uncomfortable to use, especially if you have large hands, and you might find it difficult to type messages on the small keyboard. The internal storage is just 4GB, but since it runs Android 4.2 and there is little to no bloatware, a lot of the space is free to the user. It has just 768MB of RAM, so multitasking is something you can't think of. The processor is a 1.2 GHz dual core, and the battery has 1500 mAh, which might seem very little off, but since it has such a small display and it is quite underpowered, the battery is able to take me 6 hours, even after all these years of service, even if it wasn't used as a daily driver. A new battery could be purchased for as little as $20 and get close to its original battery life of 14 hours of normal usage. The old TouchWiz was quite clunky, so I installed Nova Launcher and everything was better. Still, the phone is quite slow, but even that, it's totally livable, especially for the price. The apps I installed were Facebook and Facebook Messenger, both the light versions, since the RAM is limited and I wouldn't like them running in the background, and also since the processor is quite weak. I also installed WhatsApp, Instagram, YouTube Creator Studio next to updating YouTube, and also I updated Google Maps and installed Google Tasks and Spotify. I wanted to go for Microsoft To Do instead of Google Tasks since it's easier to sync above all my devices, but you need Android 4.4 or higher to run it, and most Microsoft apps need Android 4.4 or higher. That is probably solvable with a custom ROM, but for now I wanted to go with a stock ROM. So the first thing, messaging, emails, and sending pictures and other kind of files. This is something that it can do without any problems. The phone doesn't support Android Chat since it's so old, but still with something like WhatsApp, Allo, or Facebook Messenger, it's capable of sending images, videos, and other kind of files. The built-in email app is completely usable and it has no problems, but if you're a bit more picky, you can always install something like Gmail. So the first point is a clear pass. The second point, taking pictures, is quite a bit more subjective. In order to test everything, I took pictures of outside. The preview is quite choppy indoors, but under natural light it seems to work fine. The photos are taken with just a 5MP camera, so the amount of detail isn't the best. Still though, you can see most of the picture quite well, with a small amount of noise in poorly lit conditions. You don't need to go in low light conditions to see the image noise. Still, I generally use my phone camera to take pictures of documents since I don't like to carry around many pieces of paper. As you can see, taking a photo of an A4 sheet of paper indoors, you can still distinguish the words. It isn't the clearest picture, but you can understand the writing when zooming in on the picture. On the 4-inch 480p display, you can't really see a lot in normal dimensions, so you might have to zoom in to understand what is written on the paper. This isn't such a big deal though, since I give it a partial pass. It is good for a quick picture of a document, but I would definitely migrate to a new phone if I was mostly a social media person, since the selfie camera on this phone isn't much better either. The third thing you might want to do on your phone is use social media. For this, I choose mostly basic apps. If you use Facebook and Facebook Messenger, then the phone will get the job done. You'll be able to see what your friends upload and also text them. In Instagram, the story is quite similar. The phone will get the job done and you'll be able to see what the people post, and you'll also be able to upload local files if you download a picture from your camera or you are pleased enough with the camera that this phone comes with. But don't expect for the experience to be flawless. Most of the time, these apps will run in the background, eat a bit of your battery life, and also take a bit of your performance. Scrolling down the feed of various apps like Instagram, Facebook, and so on, you might notice that while scrolling, the animations are a bit choppy. The videos you watch on these apps are good though without any frame drops. The whole phone usage is choppy from time to time. Even in TouchWiz you would be able to notice the frame drops, the graphics processing unit inside the SoC not being really able to face the load. Watching videos on YouTube or watching shows on Netflix is okay for a short period of time. The small display might be a bit of a problem for long videos or movies. Watching in 480p is not that bad though since the display is so small. The pixel density on this panel is around 233 ppi, so the images will be okay. But you can still see the pixels from 10 cm distance, yet for a normal viewing distance like 20 to 25 cm, you can't see them. So I would say that other than the display size, which gets a bit uncomfortable after long sessions of videos, the display is actually pretty good. Another thing you're doing with our phones is internet browsing. For this, I use the default Google Chrome browser on the original old version it came with, since I didn't want to fill the storage and stress the SoC, since the new version adds features that require more power and that this phone doesn't have. So using Chrome was okay. The websites loaded, all of them, and they worked fine. The only problem was the slower loading time, again something you can see everywhere on this phone due to the lack of power, and the fact that the display is so small made it a bit difficult to type exactly the thing I wanted. So 35% of the times I found myself clicking the wrong thing. Since 95% of the websites I tried were perfectly fine and I was able to take the information I needed, I would say that this is a pass. Other apps that I would generally call utilitarian, like Google Tasks, Maps, Spotify, Shazam, Google Drive, etc., work fine for the most of the time. They were quite slow since they are not optimized for such a device and packing a lot of features on for newer phones, but they got the job done. I could access my documents, files, see the schedule for the public transport, see my to-do list, sync my notes, and so on. I would say that most of the apps you need work fine, so this is a pass. The general pros and cons of owning such a phone are the following. The pros are that you care less about your phone. You're not worried in which pocket to place it or if you place it with the keys, since you don't really care. Also, dropping it isn't such a worry, also because it's not that rigid. And even after a drop on concrete, it survived flawlessly. The cracks you see are from 2 years ago on some tiles from head height face down. Also, these kind of phones are cheap to maintain. The battery for this thing would be $20, and so is the display and other main components. They are a bit harder to find, but when you do find them, you can repair your phone at home, since the phone comes from an era where the shell is held by a few Phillips head screws. And you can take the phone apart with no more than a screwdriver and maybe a suction cup. And even if you don't find the parts for it, you can buy a new phone, well, used phone, new to you, for no more than $20. Also, when you get back to your big phone, you'll feel like it's a new thing. The display will feel big again and you'll feel snappier than ever. The cons are fewer and the biggest one is the small display, which again makes it hard to be precise. The other con is that it's a bit slow, but other than that, it's totally livable with such a phone. So yeah guys, thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up, and if you didn't, give it a thumbs down. If you want to see more such videos, click that subscribe button and that little bell on the right to get notified every time I upload a new video. So see you next time on HowToIT.